Hi, I'm Dave from Cheyenne Camping Center. Today I'm going to be showing you how to operate and set up a Cherokee Wolf Pup. We want to start off by getting this camper level. When we first pull into the campground, before we unhitch, we want to make sure that our camper is level side to side. We're going to do this by using a level. Now we can use a bubble level that comes equipped with the Wolf Pup. Looks just like this one. And we can place this level anywhere on the floor we want. We can place it on the compartment or inside the unit. Today we're going to do it right here on the compartment. So all I'm worried about right now is side to side. So as I look at this, I notice that my door side, this one right here, is low. So I have to get this side shored up. You can do this by backing up over 2x stackable blocks. One of my favorites is one of these. It's just called a basic camping leveler. It consists of a curved wedge like this, and of course a wheel chock. So what we need to do, this is our load side over here. So we're going to take this curved wedge and we're basically going to put it behind this tire. Just like so. Now we have to have somebody in the vehicle to back up the camper. And as this backs up, it's going to go up on this wedge, and as the higher we get on it, the higher the tire goes. We're going to back up until we are level side to side. Once we are level side to side, we want to take this chalk and chalk the front of the wheel. And by all means, please chalk the other wheel on the other side also. We are now leveled side to side. Our next step is to get leveled front to back. We're going to do this by using the tongue jack. So at this time, now that we are leveled side to side, we can unhitch and move the vehicle out of the way. All I have to do is pull my pin, lift the latch, crank her up, pull out from underneath it. Now, once my vehicle is out, I'm going to go back over here. And I'm going to take another look at this bubble level. Now I can see that my front end is too high now. So at this point, I'm just going to use my tongue jack to crank the tongue back down until we are level. Take a look. Right on the dot. So now we are leveled side to side. We are now leveled front to back. So that is all taken care of. Our next step is to put down our stabilizer jacks. Now these jacks, we have one on each corner. These are not for leveling. These jacks are really not designed to pick this camper up. But they are designed to go ahead and stabilize the unit. Now, the Wolf Pup comes equipped with a 3/4 inch crank handle. We're just going to stick it on the end of the jack and crank her on down. Now, another option too is also to use a drill and a speed bit. Cordless drill on just a 3/4 inch speed bit. Now, when you bring these down, we're just going to run them down until they are snug on the ground. Now you can also use this drill to bring these up also, obviously. But when you bring them up, slow down when they get to the top. We don't want to get them jammed up in there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this drill. I'm going to set all other 4 jacks on this camper, and I shall meet you on the other side. Okay, now that we are all leveled up and we have all 4 stabilizer jacks down, I'm going to come around here and I'm going to open up my LP tank. Now at this point, we are primarily ready for dry camping, better known as boondocking. What I basically mean is that we are going to be camping without any water or electrical hookup. So we're going to be running off LP and 12 volts direct current. Now I want to talk about this battery right up front here. This is a 12 volt deep cycle marine battery, and it puts out 12 volts direct currents to this camper. Everything in this camper runs off of 12 volts. almost everything except for your air conditioner, your microwave, the electric side of the water heater, and your outlets. Everything else in this camper runs off 12 volts direct current. Now, a big misconception that a lot of people have is that they think that everything that runs off 12 volts turns into 120 volts alternate current once you plug into Shoreline. That is not true. Everything that is 12 volt in this camper always operates off the battery, always remains 12 volt. It's just once I hook into Shoreline, I am now charging the battery. And we will get into that once we are inside the camper, and I'll explain that to you. So, now, if we are hooked up going to an RV park, what we need to do is go ahead and hook up our Shoreline, and we're going to hook up our garden hose to our city water hookup. So follow me back here. Now, right here is our Shoreline hookup. Every Wolf Pup comes with a 25-foot 30-amp cord. All I have to do is plug it in like so, twist it to the right, then I'm going to take this little ring and I'm just going to screw it on. Then cover my outlet with my lid right there. This cover is, and this whole plug is waterproof. Now, I need to plug into Shoreline, but before I do, I want to suggest that you put in a 30-amp surge protector. Now, the reason I advise this is that if for any reason a surge goes through this electricity and it hits this camper, the first thing that is going to fry is the converter. Plus you have all these control boards that are in some of these appliances, it'll just fry them. So if we have a surge protector on this, which I highly recommend, we won't have to worry about that. So here's my other end right here. I'm going to go ahead and plug this into 30 amp. So what we have here is we have 120 volts AC like in your house, and it is a 30 amp service. When we are plugged into 30 amp, everything in this Wolf Pup I can run, no problems. And I'll explain that later. Now, over here, well, let me skip up here. I want to talk about, first of all, I talked about your electrical systems, how we have two different electrical systems. We have our 12 volt direct current, we have our 120 volt alternate current. Now I want to talk about the water system real quick. We have two different water sources. We have a freshwater tank underneath this thing for our potable water. We use a 12 volt pump to pressurize the lines, and that is used for dry camping. Now, if we're at an RV park, we also have a city water hookup that we can hook up a garden hose straight to the hydrant. And that will be on this side right here. Now, something else that I suggest you to use is one of these right here. This is a water regulator, pressure regulator. We do not want the water pressure going over 50 pounds PSI on this camper. It will blow valves if it does. So if I hook this up to my city water hookup, and then hook up my hose to it, this keeps my water pressure from going over 50 pounds PSI. Now, once I hook up my garden hose to the hydrant, we have city pressure. So we don't have to use the 12 volt pump because we have city pressure. So all we have to really do is turn the water on and it instantly pressurizes all your lines. For dry camping, we are going to fill the freshwater tank full of water right here. And it just basically pours in there. And we're going to use a 12 volt direct current pump, which is a on-demand pump, to pressurize the water lines with the tank. So basically you have the freshwater tank here, here's the pump, city water comes in right after it. It's just two different sources. Both of them will pressurize the lines. Now, this is where you fill the freshwater tank at. The place to drain it is right down here. We have a white gate valve right down here. All I have, with a little T-handle, all I have to do is grab the T-handle, pull straight out. All the water will dump straight out of the bottom of the camper. We don't have to be at a dump station for this because it's just pure water. So we can just let it go ahead and go right on the ground. After it's all drained, we're going to take that T-handle, push it right back in to close that valve. Now, I want to show you, you have two other tanks underneath this. So the Wolf Pup primarily has three holding tanks underneath this camper. the fresh tank, which we just talked about, and 2 holding tanks for your wastewater. Now, we have what they call a black waste tank, and we have what they call a gray waste tank. Black waste tank is strictly your sewer, that's your toilet, okay? Gray waste tank is all your wastewater, sinks and shower, no solid waste at all. So right back here is where we're going to drain our 2 waste tanks at. So this one here, we do have to be at the dump station, all right? We're going to take the cap off just like so. We're going to take this cap off the bumper, pull out our sewer hose, connect it to our sewer outlet, and then the other end we are going to put into the dump station. Now, here are my 2 valves right here. Over on the right side, we have a black handle, T-handle. That is your black tank. Over here, on the left side, is your T-handle for your gray tank. Both handles are marked black and gray. Now, we never want to pull them at the same time, so we do not contaminate our gray tank with sewage. And what we want to pull first is our black tank. We always want to pull our black tank because we're going to use the gray water to help flush out your sewer hose, that's all. So all I have to do is grab the T-handle, just like the fresh tank, and pull it open. And we're just going to let it drain on out. Once it is done draining, we'll go ahead and close it. And then we're going to pull the gray handle out and let it flush all out also. Now, if you are at a full site hookup, some full site hookups have sewer right here where you're camping. So we can have this hooked up while we're camping. The only thing I suggest is that you do not leave the black tank open. We can leave the gray open, it's just wastewater. But we don't want to leave the black tank open. What's going to happen if you do is all the fluid's going to trickle out and all that solid waste is going to stick to the bottom of that tank. You are going to ruin your black tank doing that. So what I suggest you do is watch the monitor panel inside, which I will show you when I get in there, and see once it gets to be about 2/3 full or full, then come out and dump it. Once it's done dumping, go ahead and close that valve back in again. Now once you are done flushing your tanks out, we're going to pull this off the sewer outlet. We're going to pick this straight up. Come on up and just fish it right to the dump station. If they have a garden hose there, go ahead and rinse it out. And then we're just going to store it right back in the bumper again. And then, of course, reapply your cap. Now, we got a convenience light right here that in case you're at the dump station, it's dark out, we can go ahead and see. This is an LED light. So it's a very low draw on the battery. And the switch for this is going to be inside. And I will show you that once we're inside. Over here is your intake and exhaust for your furnace. When your furnace is operating, this does become a little warm, so be aware of that. And also, too, another suggestion of mine is to go ahead and put one of these mud dauber screens over the cover of this vent, just like so. What this does, this keeps, a mud dauber is a wasp that makes nests out of mud, and this is going to keep them out of your furnace. If they get in there and start putting mud all up in there, your furnace is going to be ruined. It's probably going to break the squirrel cage, and I could just go on and on. So I really suggest you get one of these put over the furnace vent. Now up here is the outside shower. It does have a hot and cold faucet on it. Just pull it on out. It also has a shut-off valve. Right in the middle is open. Either to the left or right is closed. Now, when it comes time, if you have to winterize come the end of the season, this has to be winterized whether you used it or not. It does have water all the way up to the valves. Now, right up here, this is the exhaust vent for your overhead stove vent. It does have a flapper inside here. In order to open it, I just reach in here and pop it open. Once you are done using it, I suggest that you go ahead and close it again so you don't get critters and bees and bugs in there. When we have two little tabs, we're just going to press it right back in to close it. Now, right over here, right here is the face of your water heater. All I have to do is turn that little knob just like so. Now, this water heater, it heats water with 120 volts alternate current, which we need Shoreline for. It also heats on LP, liquid propane, which we do not need Shoreline for. So of course, if you're plugged into Shoreline, by all means use the electric side of this water heater. Now, up here is the pressure release valve for the water heater. Right here, these are two resettable breakers for the water heater. This is your gas side, that's your electric side. You don't have to remember which is which, just press on them both. So if the water heater is not trying to light for you, or if it's not heating on electricity, I want you to come out and push on both of those buttons. When those breakers trip, they don't pop out far enough to see it. You have to push on them to know if they've been tripped. And if they've been tripped and you push on it, you'll know it. Okay? Right down here, this is your drain plug. And when you pull that plug out, there is an anode rod connected to it, A-N-O-D-E. That is a self-sacrificing rod. That takes the elements from the water that would attack the tank. It attacks the rod instead. Now, whenever you drain this water heater, I suggest you inspect that rod. It's going to be all chewed up because it's doing its job. But if you can see the wire that runs down the center of it, it is definitely time to replace that anode rod. If you're in doubt, just replace it. That's probably a $15, $20 item, and that's about a $400 water heater. So if you're in doubt, just replace it. It's a very common item. Over here is the switch for your electric side. So if we are plugged into Shoreline to get hot water, all we have to do is turn that switch on. Now I'm going to go ahead and shut it back off because there is no water in this water heater tank. If I was to leave that on with no water, the heat element's going to burn up in about 4 minutes. So we definitely want to make sure there is water in the water heater before we turn it on electric, and for gas for that matter. Now if you're not sure if you have water in there or not, just grab the pressure release valve, give it a little pop. If water comes out of there, she's full of water. If not, get it full before you light it or turn it on electricity. Now that is 6.2 gallons, and this takes about 20 to 30 minutes to heat up whether you're on electric or gas. All right? Now we are ready to go inside. We have some new steps that are on this wolf pup. This is no longer a, just park and pull. We have to take the time to set these steps, and I'm going to show you the best way to get this done. These steps have to be set every time, and I'm going to tell you why. So follow me over to the other side. All right, now before we set up these steps, I took the liberty of running the awning out, and I want to show you a couple things on the side of the camper and a couple things on this awning, and then we will get to the steps. Now, right over here is our assist handle, and this is a perfect position for it for travel. All we have to do is lift this up and bring it around like that. We can also travel with it across the door, but while we're camping, we're going to have it straight out like that. Now, for my purposes right now, I'm going to go ahead and bring it up against the camper right there. And then we also have two speakers, outside speakers, connected to your stereo. We have a V bracket out here, so you can put a TV out here. Then we can hook up our TV right here. This is our antenna coax connection. And then we have the 110 outlet, GFI protected outlet for your TV. Now behind this compartment door is a small refrigerator. This refrigerator is plugged into a 110 outlet. So we do have to have Shoreline for this refrigerator to operate. If we are dry camping, this refrigerator will not operate. It needs 120 volts AC. Right down here, this is our little leash latch. That's for tying up your pets and stuff. Please don't forget to unleash them before you take off down the road. Now, on your awning, once we have this rolled out, we can tilt one side or the other for a little bit of drainage. And all we have to do is pull this down, and then we're going to lock this lock nut in place right there. Now, we can do this on either end. We can do it on both ends. If you do it on both ends, bring it down the horizon, and you can still tilt it a little bit. Now, if you bring it down and the door starts scraping it, that's fine. We have rounded corners on the door. It will not cut the fabric. Now, when you go to roll this awning up, if for some reason you lose power and you're hitting the switch and this will not go up for you, it does have a manual override. That's located right here. Right underneath this plug right here is a 3/8 inch hex head. So what we do is we get an electric drill with a 3/8 inch hex head bit, put it in there. We're going to use a drill to manually roll it back up to the camper. After that, we would like to have you have it serviced. Now, before you go to the trouble of manually bringing this up, there's two things I want you to check that will do that to you. One is definitely a blown fuse, and the other would be a low voltage on the battery, because this awning is 12 volts off the battery. Okay? So now, when we get ready to roll this back up, we need to loosen that up, let that come back up. Now this is ready to be rolled back up. So now I'm going to take the time to roll this up, and then I'll show you how to put the steps down. Okay, now we're ready to set our steps. Now let me show you how to set these steps correctly, because this is very important, and I will explain that to you here. Now, when we go to set these steps, we need this door wide open. So I'm going to bring this all the way around as far as it can go. These steps need all the room it can get when you bring them down. It's because of these two tabs right here. Now, before I do bring these down, the first thing I want to do is I want to bring these legs down a little bit. So these two latches right here is where I'm going to adjust the lengths of my legs. So I'm just going to push this in, bring my leg down, push this in, bring that leg down. Now I can go ahead and bring him down. I'm going to pull this back, bring it on down, and I want to set it right on the door just like that. As you can see, my feet ain't touching yet, but I want this laying on the threshold of the door. Now at this point, all I have to do is lift this little lever up, bring the feet down to the ground, make it click. As you can see, we're still there. Do the same thing over here. Make it click. Just like that. One more. There we go. Now, like I said, it's very important that this lays right straight down on the threshold of the door. Reason that is that if you set these steps down and they're sitting up like this, that's all fine and dandy till somebody closes this door. If that door gets closed with these steps up like this, it's going to bend the flange on the door down here, and it's also going to throw this hinge, and this door will no longer seal. So it's very important to make sure that this is laying on the threshold. And that's a good way to adjust these steps so you make sure it's always on the threshold. Now we're ready to go inside, and I will show you the rest of all the appliances and all the other controls inside the camper. First of all, your assist handle right there. Come on in. Now that we're inside the camper, I want to start with this control panel right here. Now, this part up here is our monitor system. With this monitor system, we can check the condition of our battery and all three tanks we have underneath here. Now, if I push the battery, as you can see, I have all four lights on here. That means a full charge on the battery. If you read this right here on the battery, all the way through there. Now, that's all good, but over here on the other side of the wall, right here, this is our full voltage all the time off our battery. So I suggest you use that instead. But we do want to use it for our three tanks underneath here. our fresh and our two waste tanks, black and gray. Now all we have to do is push the button on the tank we want to check. So as you can see on the fresh tank, we have one light that means empty, two lights means a third, three lights means 2/3 full, all four lights, that tank is full. So if you want to check the black tank, just push it. Now these two red switches, this one is your water pump and this one's to your water heater for the gas side. Now on your water pump, if we are dry camping and we're going to use the water in the freshwater tank, we have to use the pump to pressurize the water lines. All we have to do is turn it on. We can leave it on. It's going to build up so much pressure and then it will shut off. So as we open up a faucet, it sits there and pumps. We shut the faucet off, it'll build up pressure and shut off. Now, if you run out of water, that pump's going to keep running. So if you run out of water in your fresh tank, you want to do one of two things. Either shut the pump off or add water to the freshwater tank. It will reprime and repressurize. Now the second red switch is for the gas side on your water heater. Now when we were outside, I showed you the electric switch for Shoreline to have it on the electric side of the water heater. This switch here is for the gas side of the water heater, and we do not need Shoreline for this operation. All we got to do is turn it on. This has an electronic ignition. So it has a little red light that came on. Once you turned it on, this little light is going to go out once she's lit. Now, let me explain a little bit about this electronic ignition. This is called direct spark ignition. Now I have to shut this off because I have no water in my water heater, so I'm going to shut her back off. But that electronic ignition, direct spark ignition, tries to light the water heater 3 times. That takes about 2 minutes. If it doesn't light after the third try, the gas valve on the water heater just shuts down. So, when you turn this on, if that little light doesn't go out within 2 minutes, if you turned it on, it is faulted out. So what we have to do is shut it off. I want you to go outside and make sure your propane tank is open because we need to make sure it's getting gas. And then we're going to turn it back on again. That resets it, sends it to the same 3 cycles again. She should light right up for you. This switch is to your awning lights. As your awning lights come on, so does your speaker lights. This switch here is CONV, convenience light. This is that little light I showed you out by the dump station. Just turn it on just like that. This switch over here is just a blank. This is the same panel. If we would have a slide out, we would have a switch there, but the Wolf Pup does not have a slide out, so they just put a blank there. But this switch is to your awning. This is a 12-volt electric awning. There is no unlocking. Just push it down, or excuse me, push it up to extend it. And if I let go, it stops the awning right where it's at. Now, it's very important that when you get to the end of the awning out there, that you let go of this button. If you do not, that awning will keep rolling and that tube will start coming back to you wrapped up the incorrect way. It'll be rolled up underneath instead of over the top. So we want to be sure and let go of that button once it reaches the end of the awning. Now, when it comes to rolling it up, we're just going to push it down and we're going to hold it till it's all the way up against the camper. You can either hear it or you can see it right outside the door. Once it is all the way up against the camper, just let it go. She's ready for travel. Now, on your stereo, this is also just 12 volt, and all we got to do is turn it on just like that. You have your mode button to switch in between your different sources, but what I want to show you is your speakers here, zone 1, zone 2. You have 2 main speakers in here, 2 main speakers outside, and these will turn them on and off as you wish. So zone 1 is your outside speakers. If you want them on, just turn them on. If you don't, shut them off. Zone 2 is your 2 inside speakers. Same thing, if you want them on, turn them on. If not, shut them off. Now, the subwoofer right up here is controlled on the select switch. Go to bass, treble, there's your subwoofer. Now I can either turn it up or I can shut it off completely if you're outside and you don't want to hear it in here. So I'm going to hit that again, go back to Subwoofer, we're going to turn it back up to 5. I do believe it goes up to 9 or 10. If you press this, it just mutes it. Press and hold it, and it puts it on standby or off. USB port is for flash drive for music. It won't do pictures or video, but it will do music. Now, I want to bring your attention down to here. USB ports. These are for charging phones and devices. We do not have to have Shoreline power for this. This is energized by the battery, so we can use this while we're dry camping. Our outlets, on the other hand, we've got to have shore power for. Now you notice this particular outlet has a GFCI sticker on it, but it has no reset button. This is actually GFI protected. And what that means is that it is on the load side of one resettable GFI in this unit. And that is on the other side over along this wall right here. As you can see, it has the same sticker, and here is our reset button. So if something happens at that outlet over there, that will trip. If this outlet GFI is tripped, any outlet with that sticker on there will not work. So if any of your outlets are not working, this would be the first place you check. And basically all you got to check is for that green light. All right, now your dinette table. We can travel with it up or down, it does not matter, but when we go to make it into a bed, we just kind of wiggle it up like this. Now these poles just pop out. We can store these just anywhere. And then what I want to do is set this table on these two ledges right here. Okay? So basically I just set her in there. And then I just pick it up a little bit. There's some Velcro, so we get it nice against the wall. Put her back down. The Velcro keeps it from sliding. And then these two cushions come together to make the bed. Just like so. Just put our poles right straight down into the two pedestals on the floor. And then we're going to put these in right there. I always like to give it a little tap just to make it nice and secure. Okay, over here. This mechanism right here is a liquid propane carbon monoxide detector. This is hardwired directly to your coach battery up front. If our CO and LP detector goes off, I need you to get everybody out of the camper, leave the door open, shut the LP tank off. Give it time to air out before you come in and see what's going on. Now your LP, the only place it could really come from would be somebody not shutting off a stove all the way. That will spew gas till that tank is empty, so we always need to make sure these are off. CO, the only place it could come from would be your furnace. So we have LP and CO detector here, and we also have a smoke detector up on the ceiling, right up there. That has a 9-volt battery in it. I'm sure you're familiar with that. This little red key right here is what they call a battery disconnect. If I shut this off, this disconnects the battery from everything in this unit. Give me a second here. I'm going to disconnect my Shoreline. Now, our lights are going to go out here for a second. I just want to show you that once I disconnect this key, all of our lights all go out. This whole unit is disconnected from the battery. So we'll go ahead and turn that back on. Now, when this is basically for storage. When you have this camper stored, I want you to pull this disconnect out so your battery can't be drained by anything in this camper. This disconnects your camper from everything except for a 50-watt solar panel up on the roof. Now, this 50-watt solar panel is only a battery tender, meaning that it'll keep your battery charged while we're in storage. This is not a big enough wattage solar panel to go out dry camping. It's going to keep up with your refrigerator and everything else. It's just not a high enough wattage. We'll have to go with larger wattage of the solar panel to be able to do that. So basically, it will just keep your battery up to par while you have it in storage. So when you have this stored, throw the battery disconnect, you'll be fine. The solar panel does its own thing. It does it all by itself. It has its own control panel that does everything you need done all by itself. Now, this mechanism I'm playing with over here, this is our converter, and this is actually the converter right down here. Now, this converter comes on as soon as I plug this camper into Shoreline power and start sending a trickle charge up to your battery. That is a 12 volt trickle charge. So that's a deep cycle marine battery up front. So we can leave this thing plugged in as long as you want, as long as that's a deep cycle marine battery up front. When it is operating, and that's any time we're plugged into Shoreline power, we don't want to put nothing in front of it because it does need ventilation. Up here, here's all the breakers for your 120 volt alternate current side, like in your house. And here's all your fuses for your 12 volt side, like in your car. These are all just ordinary Spade automotive fuses. Now each one of these fuses has a little red LED light next to each one of them that will come on if it blows. And you'll be able to see it right through that window right there. So if you see a red light in there, something's not going to work. Just replace the fuse next to the light with the same amp fuse. Always make sure it's the same amp fuse. Never go higher. All right, now this is your refrigerator. This is a 12 volt compressor refrigerator. It always runs off the battery. And just for starters, I want to let you know this refrigerator will run 8 hours on a fully charged battery before that battery needs to be recharged. It is a compressor refrigerator, so it really doesn't care if it's level or not, but we leveled it up nice and neat for us. And also too, it takes about 20 to 30 minutes to get cold. Now, this mechanism right here is your travel lock. We're just going to move it over like that so we can open the fridge, but we do want it like this for travel. Here is your temperature control for the refrigerator. That's the coldest. And then up here is the temperature control for your freezer. Now, when it comes to turning this on and off, it says down here to hold the set button for 10 seconds, but it's a long 10 seconds. The correct way to do this is just to hold this button until that bright LED light back there goes out. The same thing, turning it on. Just like so. Then we just do it again until it comes back on. And always make sure you secure that before you travel. All right? All right, now up here is your microwave. I'm sure you know how to run a microwave. I just want to let you know we do need shore power for the microwave. Down here is an overhead stove light and an overhead stove vent. This is 12 volt. This is to give us extra counter space. We do not want to cook on that. That is tempered glass. It will get hot and it will just shatter. So we don't want to cook on that. Now, these little tabs right here are for travel. We're going to snug those down just like that. Now we just want to flip it up and up. Now, the stovetop does have an electronic igniter, but we have to energize it by pushing this button in right there. Now we're just going to turn this to high, push it in, and then she lights right up. When you're done, make sure you shut it completely off, as I explained before. Okay, now, heating and air. So we have an AC in this unit. We also have a furnace. This is our furnace right here. And let me start by saying the furnace, we do not need shore power for. Everything works off 12 volt and liquid propane. Now, over here is the thermostat for the furnace. And this is our temperature inside now. And this is where we're going to set our temperature up here. So a click to the right is on. So that means a click to the left is off. So let's go ahead and turn it on. Now there's the least hottest and there's the hottest. Now, as you can hear the fan running, this is also equipped with direct spark ignition like the water heater, but it doesn't have a little light to tell you if it lit or not. So basically 4 or 5 minutes later, you hear that fan shut down and it's still cold in here. It is faulted out. So same thing, shut it completely off, click, go out and check your tank, turn it back on. It'll run it right through the same 3 cycles again. Okay? Now, on your AC, your air conditioner, we have to be plugged into Shoreline for this, and we do have to be plugged into 30 amp for this. All right? I want to show you something here. This is what we call a 15 amp adapter. All right? You have a 30 amp plug that looks like this. Now we can put this on the end of it and literally plug into a household outlet. If we are using this, we're keeping the same voltage, 120 volts alternate current, but we're cutting our amperage in half. We're going from 30 amps down to 15. So if we are using this, we cannot use the air conditioner or the microwave. If we are plugged into 30 amp, we can run everything to our heart's desire. Now, on the AC, this here is my temperature switch. This is my indicator right there. This is my fan switch. Here's my indicator for that right there. The fan has low and high fan only. It also has low and high AC. These are to where you can open or close the vents up here. And then we have filters here. Furnace does not have filters, only the AC. All we have to do to clean the filters is pull these down, pop this out, and it's just vinyl. We're just going to take it out and wash it. Now we have 2 little tabs we got to get this filter on top of. Otherwise our other piece just won't fit very well. So we want it up snug. See how it's like that? Okay. Put in our little pieces again and just snap it back in. Easy peasy. All right, now I want to take you back to the bathroom. There's a few things I need to show you about an RV toilet. It's a little different than a toilet at the house. So come on this way. So here is an RV toilet. Now for starters, this toilet dumps straight down into the black tank. So part of the setup before you go camping is to shock this black tank. And what I mean by that is that we are going to put in an RV black tank chemical that helps deodorize and it helps break down the waste. All right. This chemical is going to keep your sensors working and it's going to keep your gate valves from leaking. So it's very important that you do this. Now you don't have to shock this tank every time you use the toilet. You're going to shock it once and it is good to go until you drain it outside through the dump valve. Okay? So all we have to do is take our chemical. We're going to pour it straight down through the toilet. Okay? Then we're going to add about a half a gallon of water. Doesn't have to be exact. Just add some water to it. Now that black tank is now shocked. Now this toilet works off of a foot feed. I'm going to push it all the way down to flush. That's air pressure, by the way. And then I'm just going to push it just a little bit. What that does is that allows water to run inside the bowl without opening up the valve. RV toilets do not have P-traps. A P-trap is a vapor barrier. So what we want to do is after we flush the toilet, we want to put a little bit of water back in the bowl for a vapor barrier. So we do that by just pressing the foot feed just a little bit to run water. Now, when it comes to toilet paper, we have to use RV toilet paper. Comes in 2-ply. I understand that some people have to use thicker toilet paper, but we do not want to throw it down that tank. We have sensors that we want to keep working so we always know how full it is. And most importantly, we have gate valves that we don't want leaking. So as long as we use RV toilet paper and we shock the black tank like we're supposed to, you should be just fine. All right, now I'm going to go to the front end of the camper. I'm going to be showing you how to lay out the Murphy bed and a few other things on the front of the camper. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to set down your Murphy bed. We first have to start by laying this scissor jack couch straight down. We'll do that by pulling out our armrest. Now we can store these anywhere. And all I have to do is just grab the bottom of it, pull up and towards me. It lays it straight down. Then all I need to do is reach back here, grab the mattress, pull it on over. And we're good to go. Now, when we go to set this back up, what I usually like to do is go ahead and bring this back up. We're going to lay this in here. And then I like to lift this straight up like this. It makes working the scissor jack couch a little bit easier. I'm just going to pick it up, lean into it, grab the back side. It lays straight down for you, just like so. Now we can leave that up like that if you wish, or you can just go ahead and bring it back down and put it right back down in there in place. Now these here are going to slide right in here, just like so. Just like that. Now there's a couple other things I want to show you while we're up here. If you come over here, we have USB ports right here for charging phones and devices. Then over here, this little mechanism right here, this is a charging station for an LCI Bluetooth speaker. The Wolf Pup does not come with one, but you can order one online that goes in this charging station. But we still have a use on the side over here. We have two USB ports that are used for charging in devices. They're just like these over here. Now over here is an emergency exit window. All we have to do is bring this up out of the cradle, push it out, push down if we want to just open the window. But under emergency, we're going to take this red tab, we're going to push that all the way through. This window hinges all the way up. Grab the red knob, yank the screen off, and get out of the camper safely. To close it, just lift up, pull it straight in, and snap it right back down into the cradle like so. Now, one last thing. All of your ceiling lights are all LEDs, and they all turn on and off right here at a button right in the middle of the light. Just shut it off or turn it on, like so. These are all 12-volt LED. Now that concludes the walkthrough on the Cherokee Wolf Pup. If you have any questions, you can call our service department directly. Thank you for watching.